guys. Thanks for joining us. Glad you guys can make it as I break down the UFC 250 card. What an amazing card. What an amazing main card from the MMA leader of the sport. We had Amanda Nunes defending the featherweight championship against Felicia Spencer, a very game, indomitable opponent, but at the very end of the day, just a little outmatched in every single department. Experience, power, endurance, durability, everything was just a masterclass for Amanda Nunes. Over 5 rounds. The only moral victory she can have is that she stood in there and took the punishment. I personally think that Amanda Nunes has basically cemented herself in MMA history at this point. I don't think anybody can deny that. And there's really not any other competition for her. We have muzzling opportunities at Bantamweight. You know, Aspen Ladd's out there. We got Arena Aldana versus Holly Holm as a title eliminator if you want to go there. But really, the amount of wins that Amanda Nunes has occurred over this 5-year stretch is probably not ever going to be replicated for at least a very, very long time. And at this point, you got to look towards the future of the divisions. I could easily see a situation where Amanda Nunes continues her dominance the way that Joanna and Jacek did until a new prospect emerges. Who that will be, we do not know, and I don't think they're even in the UFC yet. There's only one way to find out. We have to see where the division goes. Speaking of divisions, Felicia Spencer really was the standout of this division. I didn't see another featherweight coming up that could deal with her grappling and could deal with her BJJ. Her size and durability is a puncher's nightmare to get her off of her feet. And at the very end of the day, she came from Invicta and was bringing those women into the UFC, I felt. If she could, put on a performance and maybe even win against Amanda Nunes. But with a one-sided victory like that, I couldn't. Megan Anderson doesn't seem even close. I mean, Kayla Harrison's a little too big. Star's not bright enough. In another promotion, it seems like we're going to be getting these massacre fests. And I don't want to suggest the whole proclamation of stopping the fight. After the 4th, when there was nothing to gain, I wouldn't consider it being a horrible thing for the fight to stop. I do personally feel like Felicia Spencer was game. She didn't show any signs of giving up or quitting. But at the end of the day, if you're really not going to win, what is the point of being in the contest? Her experience is just not there to take on someone as elite as Amanda Nunes, and that's just a fact. And it's a sad fact because this division is full of women who have jumped at these opportunities. It's full of a division where there's stars who could be made if they can actually get over that hump of Amanda Nunes. But that hill is just so high at this point. She's so dominant. I would like for her to take a year off and see how the divisions grow and mature. Like I said, the Holly Holm and Adriana Aldana fight seems like a title contender. Luke Thomas brought about Juliana Pena coming back. I'm not so hot on her, but we got to stop the whole Shevchenko talk. Shevchenko is 125 pounds. She's had 2 shots, and robbery or not, the size and power difference is something that her skill, technique, and speed will not be able to cover. Maybe Father Time comes in and age makes that a big deal. But, like I said, we take the year off. Her and Nina raise their daughter. We see where the division goes from there. And most importantly, a whole year we could see Valentina clean out her division like she's already done. Maybe there's no challengers there anymore. Because, there's the Calvillos and, Chukagian, didn't get overly wrecked. There could be something there. Jennifer Maia hasn't got her chance. Roxanne, you can sell these fights. But I just don't see a fight being sold, a main event pay-per-view, that's going to gather a lot of interest around Amanda Nunes right now. Unless someone emerges in, like I said, the next year or so. We're going to move down the card. And let's just start it off with Bantamweight Bantamweight Delight. And goodness gracious, we have Cody Garbrandt just flatlining Rafael Sansao in one of the greatest KOs that you will ever see. Instant knockout of the year contender. Cody Garbrandt is back in a big way. He was ranked number 9th coming into the year. He's going directly into the top 10 and right into the title picture. And in a world where number 4 is facing number 6 for the vacant championship on Fight Island, a contender in this continental United States who is very, very marketable, who is a former champion, who just had one of the best knockouts of the year, we could easily see him pushed into that title picture sooner rather than later. Way sooner than I thought were going to happen. Especially when it's 3 knockout losses. UFC's a weird place. We'll mention the money thing. If Cody Garbrandt can make sure he can secure his place financially among those top bantamweights and doesn't price himself out maybe, that could be the only thing I can see of him not getting the title shot sooner rather than later. Besides what happened right before it, Aljamain Sterling at 128 gets the Backpack City Funk Master, straps it on, tightens it down, and he taps out Cody Sandhagen, bouncing him from the ranks of the unbeaten in the UFC, bouncing him in the title contender, and clinching that number 1 contendership spot. Unbelievable victory. He mentioned how injured he was and how he wasn't able to grapple in his last fights. Now that he's 100% going forward, man, I'm so interested. And I know he deserves the number 1 contender. And I believe Peter Yan or Otto could be, subbed out for him to get that title shot. Goodness, but I am so juiced on Cody Garbrandt versus Aljamain Sterling. He doesn't deserve another fight. He deserves the title shot. But goodness, if you're going to sit out almost, they're going to fight in July. It could be another 4 or 6 months. If you choose to sit out and you want to, I completely agree. But if you want to get back in there and truly earn a championship opportunity, defeating a former champion that's getting so much hype, I think it's a good idea. The only reason he's not getting the title shot now is because he's never defeated a former champion. His name does not hold that high of a regard on the UFC at this moment. It is disgraceful. But at the end of the day, name sell fights. Name sell fights, and unfortunately, that is all it is. That Uriah Faber victory that Peter Yan had was essential for him to move forward in the division's pecking order. And Jose Aldo being a former champion coming down is everything that you need to say about him getting a championship opportunity, that champ thing that everyone loves doing nowadays. I just don't like the Aldo fight. I think it's bad. I think it's really, really bad. And I'm just so upset that Aldo can't be subbed in at this point. But Cody Garbrandt is there. We have Aljamain Sterling there. And we have Sugar Sean O'Malley announcing his place in the upper echelons of the bantamweights, knocking Eddie Wireland completely unconscious, walk-off KO, opening the main card. What a huge, huge victory. And one thing that everyone wants to match up Cody and... No, we're not doing a Cody and a Sugar Show match. We're not doing that. It's not going to work. Sean O'Malley has not had that much experience. WEC does not equal a former UFC champion. WEC does not equal a former UFC champion. All the Dominic Cruz and I don't even want to speak it into the universe. Dominic Cruz versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. Why would you want to send Dominic Cruz out there to try to dismantle the young hype? Dominic Cruz is entering the upper echelons of his career, and to feed him to a young contender like that is definitely MMA. I'm not going to doubt that, but no bueno, not in this period. I would rather be more sold on a Cody Cruz rematch. That seems interesting. That seems like something that Cody Garbrandt could definitely get behind, get him another good, solid win over a former champion, and that's 2 big wins in a row, and that could seal his deal. But to think that Sugar Sean O'Malley is going to jump the gun after he beat Eddie Wireland, I mean, it's impressive. One of the best knockouts at bantamweight, but no way. No way. He needs to develop more. He's entering the top 15. I would more like to see a Cody Stamann match with him to see how his grappling would do. He has a size advantage over that little guy anyways. So let's more Cody Stamann talk, less Dominic Cruz talk. Okay? It's very easy to determine. We saw what happened with Chase Hooper. When you go too high, you will get burnt by the sun. Pico, come on, we've seen this plenty of times. Sage Northcutt, we're not going to take another sacrifice to the MMA gods in the form of one of our young prospects. Let's build them slow. Let's just slow it down. Slow it way down, for sure. And speaking of slowing it down, let's go to the, unfortunately, the only unanimous decision that wasn't that exciting on the fight card. We have Neil Magny defeating Rocco Martin. Every time Neil Magny goes in there for a unanimous decision, you know it's going to be a technical, clinical approach. Rocco Martin was definitely in this fight. It was, of course, Neil Magny's win. I'm excited to see what he can do moving forward into the welterweight division. But it looks like Rocco Martin has tasted the sun with Damian Maia, and he just did not perform in this specific contest. Take nothing away from Neil Magny. Neil Magny is one of the stalwarts of this division. He is a gatekeeper for a reason. That gate remained closed for sure. All in all, the card is a great evening. I enjoyed myself a lot. One of the big stories I want to talk about right now, honestly, is Amanda Nunes and Nina Ansaroff. They're having their first child, and it's a beautiful thing to see when the wonderful couples in MMA can have a wonderful family as well, coming off of great wins, coming out of a time where family is the most important, super important thing. As far as the marketability, we can do this. Fighting Mom, we've done that with Michelle Watterson. All the people who thought that Amanda Nunes couldn't be a draw and all that garbage, this card definitely 100% proves it. She is one of the most dominant champions the UFC has ever seen, and she's the GOAT. And now she deserves the time to become a mom. It's amazing that at the top of your game, you can take the time to become one of the greatest fighters in the world and still have the time to become a wonderful mom. I feel like that's an important story that's not really getting the praise that it deserves. Raising kids is hard, super hard. Having to deal with a pregnant wife and going through camp, plus coronavirus, plus everything that's happening in America right now, the stress on the champion is high. And she passed with flying colors. Speaking of champions passing with flying colors, we got to go back to Cody Garbrandt. Fighting the demons. I mentioned it last week in the show. When you were coming off of the highs of having every dream that you ever had come true. Sometimes you don't perform up to your standards. Sometimes you don't actually go through the true motions that you need to show true championship qualities. And I'm happy that he was able to do that here. Moving forward, like I said, we have that Cruz rematch. Cruz is ranked 12th, I think. So, I mean, it's a doable fight. Or anybody in the top 5. Aljamain, if he wants to get in there. But I suggest he just sit out. He has a championship in the bag. Man, what an overall great card. I'm going to wrap up this show here. I'm going to come back a little bit later in the week. I have the prelims dropping, so make sure you guys listen to that show as well. And, of course, you guys, take care of yourselves, love one another, and remember to punch up. This is the Punchy Panda Podcast.